Welcome to The Deciding Point, our Cracked Racquets weekly roundup of the biggest storylines going on throughout the tennis world. We slid headfirst this past week into the start of the 2021 clay court season, the action across the WTA and ATP tours, delivering the goods. Want to recap all of last week's action, preview this week's events in Charleston and Monte Carlo. With that in mind, Westoff, roll those credits. Let's start today's show. Any discussion of last week's event in Charleston has to start with a discussion about Veronika Kudermetova, as the 23-year-old Russian did not drop a set en route to the second WTA level title of her career now for Kudermetova. What was so impressive about her throughout the week? It started with the fundamentals. She won over 70% of her first serve points in almost every one of her matches played this week. Now, in a couple of them, she only made about 50% of her first serves. But when you can play that sort of dominant first strike tennis, particularly on the clay courts, it's going to lead to success. Now, the other thing she did so well, attacking opponents' second serve. She won over 50% of her second serve points in all but one of her matches she played in Charleston. And when you get to be the aggressor, when you get to play first strike tennis on clay, it's that much more effective because, of course, it's that much more difficult to find your footing on the surface. When you're the aggressor, you can hit behind your opponents, you can continue to attack the open court, you can mix up your speed, play the drop shot, play the slice, and Kudermetova had it all working for her this past week. And I think the thing that's so exciting about her, in particular her level of play these past 52 weeks, is how tough and out she has been and how consistent she's been regardless of the event, regardless of the surface. You look now, she's 26-15 since the tour restarted in August, and that's not sensational. But when you break it down in an even further granular level, of those 15 losses, 13 of them to players currently ranked inside the WTA top 35. The non-top 35 losses were to young up-and-coming American Ann Lee and to Jeannie Bouchard in her first match post-restart. And, when you look at Kudermetova, the physical profile checks out across surfaces. She's a really fluid mover. She is able to turn defense into offense, and she can be overwhelmed by pace. Sometimes that forehand backswing, if you can jam it, she's going to produce an error. She likes to play flat through the court, and sometimes she'll get a little bit, dare I say, slap happy and produce a streak of errors, but she didn't this week. She was locked in, and whenever 2-3 points would go awry, she would zone herself back in, make that first return, play big to open space, and then just use that return or the first serve to open up the rest of the court to impose herself through the rest of her game. She's just someone, she slides into her shots. She's comfortable playing the slice. She's comfortable moving forward. She can just do a lot of things. And does she do anything at an elite level? You look at Tennis Abstract's leaderboard, she's about 14th in terms of her first serve win percentage amongst top 50 players. She's actually number 12 in terms of hold percentage in the last 52 weeks amongst top 50 players. That hold percentage, how frequently you are holding serve in your matches. Now, she's a bottom 10 returner amongst top 50 players, and I think that speaks to her aggressive nature. She wants to play big on that return, go for her chances, because she is someone who holds serve with relative ease. Those are all little things you have to brush up on the margins, being more consistent with your return of serve. That's something that comes with more time. But Kudermetova now up to number 29 in the world. And again, she turns 24 at the end of this month, but she's only 24 years old, a top 30 player through and through. She really is a litmus test, a gateway. If you can beat her, it means you're probably a top 15, top 10 player right now. If you can't, it means you're not, because that's how good she's been, consistent she's been week in, week out. A well-deserved title for her, again, second of her career, first since 2019. I think she deserves to be seated at all of the slams. She is that good. Certainly now she has put herself in a position to be just that. In terms of the other storylines coming out of Charleston, there were, a couple of other fantastic performances. Paula Badosa-Gilbert, who struggled with health at the beginning of this season. She's still only 23 years old. She looks so good on the clay courts, just seems to move so comfortably, able to take open space, able to change direction from the baseline, able to sustain long cross-court rallies, someone who really does slide into her shots, uses her fitness to buy herself extra time. She doesn't have an overwhelming weapon, and, she suffered because of that against Kudermetova. She just wasn't able to create anything easy against her, but she's going to be a really tough out, and she's going to earn another upset at some point during this clay court season. Ditto for finalist here in Charleston, Danka Kovinic, who she was just great. I mean, in her semifinal against Ons Jabeur, she handled Jabeur's variety. She moves so well. Again, movement in clay court tennis is the key, but Dosa, Jabeur, Kovinic, Kudermetova, they were ready to make that adjustment more so than some of the power players who had success on the hard courts in the months leading up to this week in Charleston. But overall, again, a fantastic level of play. It was the first clay court event of the season that we saw. Some new faces emerge, should surprise no one, but, Barty still looked good. We had a Sloane Stephens resurgence. Overall, if hopefully week 2, I should say, in Charleston can provide the sort of action that week 1 did, because overall, week 1 in Charleston, a phenomenal event.